Hello.
Hello.
Okay, Amico, you have the, you've already taken the attendance or the noted who's here.
Yeah, I'm just giving it one last glance here. Let's see. And okay, so let the record show that Commissioners Delagno, Liu, Texler, Whedon, and Juan are present, and Commissioners Humayun and Klein are absent at the June 14, 2021 Environmental Commission meeting.
Okay, then we've established a quorum. I'll call for if there's any public comments for items that are not on the agenda.
I have a comment. Gary Hedden.
Sure, Gary, go ahead.
Let's see. No video for me, I take it.
Sure, you can go on video if you'd like.
It's up to you. Doesn't have to be, but
Either way.
it's a little more interesting that way.
Always better.
Honored commissioners, I'm looking for my video to see if that's actually working. Whatever. Maybe I have to do something over here.
Bottom left.
Bottom left.
You got it.
Super, thank you so much. Honored commissioners, I'm Gary Hedden, resident of Los Altos, president of Greentown Los Altos, and president of the Los Altos History Museum. 5 things are on my mind. Well, there's the drought, that'd be 6, but we'll hear about that later. First, Greentown started our summer internship program this morning with 9 interns. It is a 6-week program with 4 broad areas of interest: social media, zero waste, planting trees, and getting the History Museum certified by the county as a green business. We will be meeting with Amico next week to talk about the certification process. Thank you, Amico. Second, EV chargers. There was an article in Friday's Chronicle that far too few public charging stations are being installed. We need 250,000 by 2025. We have 73,000 in the state, and we will not meet the goal at the current pace of installations. Please make sure that Los Altos does its part. Third, trees. Greentown has planted 219 trees in the past 2 years, and we will plant more next season once we get some rain. The city should have a plan to get more trees planted in Los Altos. Trees are a great investment for many reasons, and as the climate warms, they help reduce the urban heat island effect. Fourth, storm drains and rainwater capture. I got a letter informing me that the city will be repaving and resurfacing streets in my neighborhood next month. It does not mention shoulder paving policy or upgrades. It would be great to have that happen at the same time, allowing the city to bring our streets to current best practice over the lifetime of the repaving program. Fifth, mark your calendars for June 24th, that's next week. Greentown and the History Museum are co-hosting a panel discussion called Los Altos Goes Green. The current exhibition, California Wildflowers, Beauty and the Beast, features stunning photography and the message that the beast, climate change, is placing our flowers at risk. Please come by and check it out. We will have a panel discussion on June 24th with 3 interesting panelists to offer their views. They are a biologist from Mid-Penn Open Space, a scientist from Creekside Science, and the executive director of the local Audubon Society. I think it's going to be a very interesting and delightful 90 minutes. Go to the website of Greentown or the museum to learn more and to register. And please tell your friends and contacts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Before we jump into the agenda, I have a suggestion, and that is to reorder an item on the agenda. I think it may help our meeting go smoother and not delay Cal Water in their presentation to have to go through another, an additional agenda item. And that would be, is I would suggest maybe we hold the elections for chair at the end of the meeting rather than in its current space or its current position as item 2 on it. In order to do this, I'd need a motion and it had to be accepted by the commission. It'd also help that I think putting a new chair, if a new chair is elected in the position of having to run the meeting, it'd be sort of a handicap for that individual.
I move to go for it, Laura. I've seconded.
Move to reorder the agenda to have the election following the Cal Water presentation.
And I will second that.
Okay, Laura, would you consider moving it to the end of the agenda, or you would prefer it to be at that location?
I would accept that friendly amendment.
Bruno, would you accept that as well?
Yes.
Okay. Any other further discussion on this?
No, we agree.
Miko, can we have a roll call?
Sure. Commissioner Delagna,
Yes.
Commissioner Liu,
Yes.
Commissioner Texler,
Yes.
Commissioner Whedon,
Yes.
Commissioner Wan.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, with that, let's move into the first item of business, and that is the approval of or discussion and approval of the Environmental Commission meeting minutes of the May 10th meeting. I hope everybody's had a chance to review them. Any questions or comments, or I'm ready for a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I move to accept the minutes as written.
Thank you, Laura. Do we have a
I
second?
second it.
Thank you, Lei. Any further discussion? If not, Miko?
Okay, Commissioner Delagna,
Abstain.
Commissioner Liu,
Agree.
Commissioner Texler,
Yes.
Commissioner Whedon,
Yes.
Commissioner Wan.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
Okay, perhaps maybe Miko, do you want to do the introductions with our guests from Cal Water Service, and then we'll get that part of our program started?
So welcome to the staff here from Cal Water. I'm so thankful that you are able to be here. We have Susan Cordone, if I said that last name right, Rob Seeley, and Dawn Smithson. Susan is the conservation coordinator, and Dawn is the district manager for our area in Los Altos. And Rob is, I believe, the regional community affairs specialist, if I have that correct.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I think Susan is going to kick it off here, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's nice to take part in this meeting with everyone, and I hope that we're able to share the types of information that you are desiring, and we'll just start it out with conservation because that's top of mind.
Could I say something real quick?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes,
no,
of course.
it's okay. No, I wanted to set the stage. Susan is our conservation coordinator extraordinaire, and you'll see before the evening's over that she loves all things conservation, and we are truly fortunate to have her as part of our team. So I'm just going to make her blush before she even gets started. And my understanding is that, you know, we were asked to come and speak about our conservation program, which is actually award-winning, and Susan, you know, takes a big part of that responsibility for that program. But understandably, the current situation in our world globally is very dynamic. And, you know, we received some questions that rightfully you may want to know while you have us here in the hot seat. So we are going to do our best to try and answer those questions, even though there's a lot of information that we're going to try and cover. I just want to throw this out there at the beginning. It's still just really kind of skimming the surface. And as I mentioned, it is a very dynamic situation. So I'm going to throw out a little teaser at the beginning that we're welcome to come back at any point in time to hash through more things, talk about updates, dive in deeper in certain areas that you might want. Just consider us your go-to, and we would be happy to come back. So I just kind of want to plant that seed. If there's something that you didn't necessarily want to dive into tonight, you can always invite us to come back. We'd love to. So I'll turn it over to Susan real quick.
Thank you so much. And for some reason, I can't, can you still see me, everyone? Yes,
Yes.
okay. And you're not seeing my screen yet, is that correct?
No.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. Let me get to the right place. Thank you, Dawn. That was so nice. I really appreciate your support. Let's see, let's start with this whole from the beginning business. As mentioned, I am the conservation coordinator for California Water Service. And so my job is specifically to help our customers save water. And I do that in a variety of ways. And I actually have a slide going forward on the different bits of outreach and types of outreach that we do have and that we are consistent in providing our customers. But I want to start with a little background on California Water Service Group. We're in 24 geographic districts in the state of California. We're also serving in Washington State, Hawaii, New Mexico, and we've recently expanded into Texas with the purchase of 4 wastewater treatment plants. And so that's our new, that came out in a press release pretty recently. Through the way we do that is over 6,000 miles of main, over 1,100 wells in our service areas, over 600 storage tanks, valves, 50,000 plus hydrants, over 2,000 sampling stations, 6 surface water treatment plants, and 11 wastewater treatment plants system-wide. And you may already know that we formed our Los Altos district in 1931 when we purchased the Los Altos Suburban Water Company. And you're very familiar, I'm sure, of the areas in which we serve beyond just Los Altos. We have parts of Los Altos Hills, Cupertino, Mountain View, and Sunnyvale. We do provide a combination of local groundwater and imported purchased water. And that imported purchased water is from Valley Water, and it comes from Reservoirs and the San Joaquin Sacramento River Delta. For Los Altos specifically, we've got just close to 300 miles of pipeline, 65 booster pumps, 46 storage tanks, and over 2,000 fire hydrants. I have on this particular slide a link to our conservation master plan. Our conservation master plan is a really important document. It's just, I can't stress it enough how important it is to help us really, it's like a guidebook, if you will, for the ways in which we are planning for and have, we've instituted many items in our conservation master plan, but it's really it provides a blueprint for providing education, assistance, and incentives to help our customers use water wisely. And really, it's my plan. I mean, I didn't create the plan, but I live by this plan, right, for each of the districts that I'm responsible in supporting. And I do have the Northern California area for Cal Water. So both Rob and I kind of mix and mingle, if you will, throughout all of our districts that we're responsible for in Northern California. I've been spending a little bit of time in Los Altos via Zoom, of course, but we've done presentations recently to the Los Altos Chamber of Commerce, and I know the Rotary, and so we're talking, you know, I say mix and mingle, that'll come soon enough, but for now, we are sharing information really to any and everybody that's interested in hearing. And so again, I encourage you to take a look at this master plan. It's really very, very comprehensive. And I've also provided a link to our urban water management plan. And both of those documents are just incredibly helpful and have resources that are just incredibly valuable. So I want to start with the good. I mean, we've got good stuff all the way through because we're sharing information about what we're doing, but I want to share with you about 2020. We all know that it was not a great year for a variety of reasons, but as far as water savings in 2020, our annual savings for the programs that were utilized in 2020, 5 million gallons of water were saved in 2020. For those programs or device changes that occurred in 2020, those will have a lifetime savings over their lifetime of 77 million gallons of water. So that's pretty great. Of those 77 million gallons of water, 56 million gallons were as a result of plumbing fixture replacements. 21 million gallons were a result of irrigation equipment or landscape upgrades. So all of that good stuff combined with programs that we have implemented since 2011 will bring the Los Altos district a savings of 750 million gallons over their lifetime. So I really love leading with that particular slide. This is the conservation report, as you can see, from 2020, but on our website we have many years going back and similar information. So you have access to all of that via our website. But I wanted to highlight this particular. So yay, Los Altos, can I say yay? So that's some good stuff. So how did the residents and businesses do that? Here we go. The rebates that are available are your high efficiency toilet rebates, clothes washers, smart irrigation controllers. Those are also known as weather-based irrigation controllers for those of you that aren't landscapers here or maybe don't have one yet. They're smart. They can help in the event of a rain event, which of course we know we haven't had enough of those, but they are able to turn your irrigation system off as a result of the moisture sensors that are part of these controllers. So they recognize that a rain occurrence has happened and they will shut a system off. And how great would that be if you're on vacation and you're, you know, I don't know, you're somewhere wonderful, you're at Lake Tahoe, get a rain event, you know that your system is shut down. So that's pretty great. And then high efficiency sprinkler nozzles. These are the nozzles that of course are supporting the irrigation system. They've come a long way is what I can tell you. They're not your old brass nozzles. They're not your grandmother's brass nozzles anymore. I almost said knuckles. That's not good. But they're new, they're high efficient, and they are part of our rebate program for the main reason is they are helping our customers save water as indicated by the previous slide that I showed you. We do have conservation kits that are available to our customers, residential customers. These are no charge. They're kind of fun to get a box sent to the home. These are available by going onto our website as well. Of course, I'm going to direct people more and more as we go. Our website is just filled up with all sorts of information, including, and I'll talk about this a little bit later in our presentation, but we have how-to videos. There's all sorts of great things on our website. But for this particular item, you do need to go online, place your name, account number, and tell the computer you're not a robot, and then your request goes through. We also presently have a Smart Landscape Tune-Up program. This is a program that is of no charge to our customers. This is also a sign up online on our website. You'll see it under the conservation banner of our website. And this is pretty neat. It's a fairly new program, and it's where a selected contractor, so of course we went out to bid through our RFP process, and we selected a landscape company to assist our customers by going out to the property and taking a look at their irrigation system. Basically, they'll go turn the system on, they'll look to see what type of controller is presently there, make note of the irrigation schedule, and then basically take a walk and look at the overall efficiency of the landscape and make recommendations. There are some tune-up capabilities that they can do right then and there if they're not extensive and if they remain within the scope of the project or the program, excuse me. So this program is a tune-up. It's not, hey, you get to have a whole new irrigation system. Okay, so I just want to create the expectation there that the goal there is to really help our customers become more aware of opportunities for savings in their landscaping. So that's the bulk of that program. And I'm excited to announce that we will have a turf replacement rebate. We are looking at a July launch, which is, given it's the 14th, we've got a couple weeks away. So you'll hear more about that. If you have any questions on that, unfortunately, all I can do is revert back to the past route. So I know a little bit about it. It might be different. That's why we've got this July launch, and so I don't have all the details on it. But it's a turf replacement rebate. I know that. We're also looking at launching, we will be launching a drip line conversion rebate. So that's pretty neat as well. A lot of folks have drip line as part of their irrigation system. And so, or if they don't, this particular program is to help customers convert to a drip line. And basically a drip line is a way of providing irrigation water to your plants without the overhead spray when you're dealing with, maybe it's a really windy day and you still, it's your effort is to obviously get your plants watered. Drip line is a good way so that you don't get you don't get any overspray, you don't get any evaporation really. It's underground and hitting the plants at the point source where the water is needed. So look forward to information about that, and I will as soon as I have launch information, Emiko, I will be providing that directly to you to share with the Commission. And so going on to our rebates for commercial properties. Now, the area itself, you're really about 93% residential customers. So while we do have these programs for the residents, we also have the commercial water efficiency programs, and these are available, city offices, city parks, any commercial schools. Basically, these are the types of properties within your area that I would recommend for the commercial water efficiency programs, and they're fairly similar. Of course, we don't have urinals in the in the residential program, but we do here for the commercial property. We also have rebates for the smart irrigation controllers, spray bodies. These are the bodies that the nozzles go into, and they've become high efficient over the years because they are integrated now with pressure regulation as well as check valves. And so that is what creates the high efficiency in those. And check valves are needed to basically stop low head drainage. You know how sometimes when you turn an irrigation system off and you see the water flow out of the system, this will stop that and allow for the water to be used for the next irrigation cycle. So that is reduced. We've got large rotary nozzles. Those are the types of nozzles that you'll see at golf courses or larger parks, these types. And they can be high efficient as well, and we are rebating those. High efficiency sprinkler nozzles, I mentioned those before. Customized incentives. This is where let's say you've got a business and you have come up with a way by which you feel that your business can save water through the addition of a new device, a cooling tower maybe that you're looking at getting replaced, and you want to talk to Cal Water about, could we incentivize that if it was a water reduction device change out? We want to hear about those things. That's where you'd come to us and say, hey, Cal Water, here's what I've got. Will you listen? Can we talk about this as an opportunity for us to be incentivized? So we still have the Smart Landscape Tune-Up program that is available to our commercial customers as well. And I've already mentioned the turf and the drip line rebates. Those are consistent with our residential. So let's talk a little bit about the prohibited uses of water. These are important. I've got to move your faces over a little, even though you guys all ended up down on the bottom. Okay, that's better. So I probably don't need to read these out to you, but they're very common sense. Let's see. We see this all the time. We're taking walks, someone has got their irrigation on, and the water is running off onto the sidewalk and down the street. That is not ideal. Our sidewalks and our streets do not need our precious water. So it's basically a prohibited use of water to allow that to occur. Using a hose without a shutoff nozzle to wash vehicles. In our conservation kit that I mentioned for the residential customers, one of the little items in there is a hose nozzle that has the shutoff, right? I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but I haven't lately, honestly. Someone washing their car and then just leaving the hose down and until they rinse it. You really don't see that much, but it does happen. I actually went to a visit with a friend of mine yesterday, and her neighbor was hosing down his driveway. And I felt very uncomfortable about it. I didn't go up directly to him because my daughter was with me and she was literally pulling me away from him, but I did take note of the address. So it's just something that's very disconcerting, and I think that we're at a point now where we're really, it's important to keep an eye out for those types of things, and we do have a waste of water section on our website that our customers can go to and provide information about waste of water. It is not an anonymous scenario. You would have to provide your name, and that would just be in the event that maybe myself or someone from our customer service team might call to verify or just to check or maybe ask a question. But that is available. We're not going to be going to the person and saying, hey, we heard this from X person. That is not part of it. We just have to have a verifiable waste of water to follow up on. So, you you saw all of these. These are important, and they remain in effect. Obviously, the cities that we serve in the districts may or may not have your own ordinances, active or non-active. This is part of our water shortage contingency plan, so it remains in here, and I'm referencing it and talking about it at every presentation that I do. So a little bit about, go ahead. Oh,
a question. The last slide has these list of things. Is this because a conservation measures has been called for as of this date, or is this the standard for ongoing and, you know, regardless of what type of drought condition we may be in?
Sure, this is the standard presently. And who just asked the question? I'm only seeing a few pictures.
This is Don Whedon.
Okay, Don, thank you. Yeah, this is the standard we have. Just, we'll go into it a little bit more, but we coordinate with the cities that we serve, the wholesalers that we have water, that we purchase water from. So it's like Don said in the beginning, it's very, very fluid. And we will work directly with the cities that we serve to line ourselves with any and all ordinances that you as a city would be adopting. So it's a partnering process, if you will.
The main point here, these are measures that should be in place. They're not part of any additional measures that are called in due to water supply issues.
That is correct. Thank you for clarifying. Yep. So I've been on drought.gov a little bit lately, and I have provided the link there as well. It just let us know, not just me, anybody that's going on and reviewing, that in Santa Clara County was the 9th driest May in 2021 in the last 127 years, and the 23rd driest year to date in 127 years occurred in 2021. So I just wanted to give you some of those facts, and the link to that is the second one down. Pretty sure there's very, very few people that have not seen this map, and I do show it at each and every presentation that I give recently. It's well, I really used to like those colors, and I'm not fond of them at this point. It's a situation that we're really very, very, all of us are concerned about, without a doubt. I want to talk a little bit about the long-term regulations, and this is a direct result of the state's program for making conservation a California way of life. I also, in one of my slides that I have coming up, have a link to the PDF, the final PDF on this particular. I realize that this particular document is not legible for you to be reading, or for me for that matter. The point of bringing this up to your attention is to show you how many different entities are really working hard to ensure that we are all making conservation a way of life, and we are all using water more wisely. And you can see there are timelines and major actions associated with the water conservation efforts as it relates to this effort of making conservation a California way of life. We've got the Department of Water Resources actions that are feeding into the State Water Board, as well as the legislature, and finally feeding into the urban retail water suppliers. And there is a myriad of major actions. And that's when Dawn talked in the beginning about the information that we're sharing today is somewhat skimming the surface, but please use it as a tool to obtain even more information. This document is very comprehensive, the PDF that I mentioned. And so I would encourage folks to take a look at that. It's definitely a page turner. This is just another way of showing the timeline that these going through. It's a visual reminder of the many items that are being done now and going into the future. And this particular milestone schedule really shows an ending in 2027. Well, we all know that we have to, and we are planning for water conservation far beyond that. And the steps that we're taking now are really feeding into helping all of us to, making conservation a California way of life. It's not just California, right? That map I showed, it is just California, but we know that our whole Western United States is in a terrible drought situation, very, very dry. So the urban water use objectives that are part of the document that I've been referring to involve combining efficiency in indoor use, outdoor use, tightening up water loss in both infrastructure and with our customers, and compiling information about commercial, industrial, and institutional landscape water use. So that is, on the landscape side, that is still to be determined. And a lot of these things are still being worked on. So there's more to come on that, and they are outlined very detailed in the document for the Making Conservation a California Way of Life. See, I get to say it a few million times, and then I can hopefully say it right. Contact information for Dawn, myself, and Rob Seeley is available right here. Of course, Emiko has all of our contact information, and I believe I will be leaving this slide deck with you. So I think that's what I've got. Oh, I've got some more water resource. I've got area maps, area boundaries, the link to the urban water management plan, as I mentioned. And I'll move this a little bit more. So what other one did I put? I put in the link to our drought page, which is being updated consistently. And that is also on our website and has some great resources as well. So at this time, I'm going to pass the torch over to Ms. Dawn Smithson. Dawn.
Thank you, Susan. I always love hearing your presentation. It's actually positive and uplifting in a time that can feel kind of overwhelming and daunting. I want to just reach out to the commission and just say we're prepared to answer the questions that were sent over to us in advance. We don't know what your timeline is. We don't know what else you have on your agenda. So do you want to help us prioritize the questions that we answer? Do you want us just to launch into answering them one by one? How would you like to move forward with this?
I think we can go, there is one question in the chat, but then we can bring it up, and then if that's okay with you, Dawn?
Yeah, for sure.
So the question is about the drip.
Okay, I see it.
Oh, the drip lines, if they're squirrel proof?
Oh, that is a very good question. That, Gary, I do not know, but I know that's an issue. That's when I'm going. It's not.
It's every week.
It's every for your squirrels.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Gary, maybe you and I could talk about that. I've put your name down and the date for your event coming up. So I loved what you had to share at the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, thank you.
So and I love hearing about the History Museum. So sorry, side note. That question I don't know, and then Sally mentioned that my volume was really low. Is that still the case? I'm so sorry, I did not notice that.
It was just for a short time, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. Gary, can I get back with you on that? I don't know the full parameters of the drip line conversion program yet.
Okay, thank you very much.
You got it.
I think that regarding the conservation goal and what have been achieved, and also moving forward, some of your presentation material, I think it would be very helpful that all the residents in Los Altos, they also are aware of these, and also what are offering by Cal Water. And I'm just kind of thinking citywide, if you have any way that we can make it known to the residents about these, and also, like you were quoting about the indoor use of water per person. Today's actually my first time heard about that, and I think it's good to understand that. Obviously, there are also other areas that it's hard to determine right now, but I'm just more or less like, we should probably have a way to educate and really make this known to our residents.
So that I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I usually accept any and all opportunity to help educate our community. And so all of a sudden I am getting a little bit more popular with regards to people wanting to hear about our programs. And so I couldn't be more pleased about that. We do have a very a robust marketing campaign, and we are ramping that up presently, as well as launching these programs that I mentioned. So we'll be marketing those programs, and we utilize a variety of avenues with regards to marketing our programs. We go into, of course, there's a lot of transition into social media, but we also recognize that there are other avenues, given that not everybody is on social media. So we have information on our website. We also have the opportunity to place information on our bills. They used to call them bill inserts. Now we call them bill onserts, and we'll provide information there. So you name it, really, we are doing it as far as sharing information. And I'm ready, willing, and available to talk to community groups. I accepted an opportunity to speak with a church group. It's a big yes from me. So if you've got any other suggestions, I mean, I've talked to Girl Scout troops before, so we do reach out to the cities that we serve. We've got one-pagers as far as printed material. I imagine that with the new programs being launched, we'll have more of those. So there could be actual printed material available as well. So that's top of mind. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I think all sounds good. I think we're gradually we can have a limited people gathering. So yeah, I would think that coming with a bill, I feel that's a very direct way.
Okay.
Every one of us look at our bill, right? We sort of look at our water usage comparison wise. Yeah, same time, same months last year, right? So we're aware of. Yeah, I think those are a good venue. Yeah.
Well,
one thing I just wanted to add to that Susan said to me a while back, and something that I think is important for all of us to keep in mind throughout the rest of this conversation, is that everyone here is a water manager. I mean, at the root of it all, how you go about your daily lives, how you handle your own irrigation, the decisions you make about the fixtures you have in your house, and then the discussions you have with community members, whether it's a neighbor or through a platform when you're sharing information maybe in a tweet or something like that. I mean, if you're passionate about it or you have something to share, those are great opportunities to spread the word about conservation. Our program or stipulations are just reminding people of what everybody's trying to reach as a goal for conserving water and moving forward and making conservation, you know, a part of California's daily life and not just something we talk about during a drought. So that I just have always liked the phrase, everyone is a water manager, and you think about the empowerment of that in your daily lives, and it all makes a difference. And so I thought it was prudent to bring that up towards the beginning of these questions and keep that in mind moving forward as an opportunity to be a part of that greater solution.
I'd like to insert in here because we do have limited time, and a question was asked regarding how, I believe on the next step on how to proceed. I think one of the important things is to learn more about the Valley Water's recent board action for requesting a 15% reduction. And while you're doing that, hit on some of the items that have not been covered in our questions from advance. And the response to the questions can be somewhat abbreviated, but I think probably the most important thing is to move forward with the situation that we currently have and what you see as developing.
Yeah,
go ahead, Dawn.
Any one of us could answer that question. Who wants to?
Go for it. It's over to you. Thank you.
So yes, and I see that the question says, you know, Valley Water is recommending the 15% reduction, but I believe it's a little bit stronger than that. That it's more of a requirement or a mandate. Cal Water fully supports that decision by Valley Water, and we're going to do our part to make sure that that goal is successful and achieved. We're going to work with our customers to make sure that we do achieve that goal. We believe, based on our experience with our customers in this area, that they will rise to the challenge and achieve that goal voluntarily. So that is our plan at this point in time. But we like to say, as Susan said, the situation is fluid. So it's 15% overall, just aggregate 15%. So I'm not sure exactly how they're planning on measuring it, what the increment of time that they're measuring it. Usually it's over a longer period of time, but it can be measured incrementally. So I need to get more information on that. Susan, I just saw Jane's question, is it 15% per month or per year? I think ideally it'd be both.
Yeah, I think you answered that appropriately. I don't think we know that yet. I think it's an aggregate. So why don't you, go ahead. Sorry, Don.
Well, one of the questions is the Valley Water statement could be confusing to a number of people because it actually had 33% based on year 2013, and it had 15% based on what was it, year
2019.
And maybe you can explain to us what are the differences? Are there differences? And then the next step is, what is Cal Water going to do regarding enforcement?
Yeah, so the 33% from 2013, you know, we've been conserving since then. So overall, we use much less water than we did before. So it's the same number. The 33% from 2013 is the same number as the 15% from 2019. It's different points of reference.
I understand that, but I don't think the public does.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers being thrown around. It can get confusing, so we're trying to message that so people can understand.
So when you're saying 15% reduction compared to 2019, by when? What is the drop dead date for that?
Was there a deadline for this?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, this came out just like their announcement came out just recently, so we're still wrapping our heads around what their mandate is. We know, like I said, we're going to support whatever effort they have. It doesn't matter. We're going to conserve. We're going to encourage our customers to conserve.
So I don't know if we want to go through the questions that were listed, Don, or if we keep on asking questions independently. I don't know how you want to handle that.
I think in the effort of time, maybe if hopefully commissioners are aware of the list that we put together, and so I think maybe commissioners can step up with the ones that they're truly interested in hearing about, so that we have interest in time. And if Cal Water has more to say on the upcoming reduction mandate, I think that would be of interest.
So I had a few questions actually, and some were in what was listed, I think, and some may not be really within the questions that you received at Cal Water. So I had a general question about water supply. My understanding is that most of the water comes from the ground and from outside. So it's imported from the delta, and you mentioned in your presentation reservoirs. So the water that's in the reservoirs come from where?
So we get purchased water from Valley Water, and that comes from the Valley Water has a series of reservoirs, and then the San Joaquin Sacramento River Delta.
Right.
So the water we get is the water that they serve us, but it is treated, and it's from their sources of supply, which they can fill from a variety of different places and locations.
Okay, and then the groundwater, which is about I think 30% of the supply. I had some, so it's replenished by rain mostly, or yes. So we just take out just what we believe is the maximum we can take out based on rain provisions or rain history or whatever, right?
Yes, so we don't have recharge basins ourselves, but we do work with the other, we're not the only ones who use the Santa Clara subbasin. So we work collaboratively with the other organizations who use that subbasin as well, including Valley Water, and and coordinate if it needs to recharge or if we can use it. It's a collaborative effort.
Okay. So in that context, I was wondering whether there is any way we can facilitate the replenishment of the groundwater. And because we live in the suburban area where we have everything is paved, basically. So is there any measure we can take to facilitate that process? For example, in terms of sidewalk, in terms of pavement, having porous sidewalks or pavement for the streets, for example, is that something that would be useful or not?
It makes sense to me. I'm an engineer by background, but I don't think you need to be an engineer to understand that permeable pavement would help water infiltrate into the ground and recharge the groundwater. The more that we can encourage that, the better. We always try to work with our customers who, we're working with to try and use that as well. I know Valley Water does have recharge basins. We don't have the plans to do that right now, but that is not we're not considering anything. We're keeping all of our options open. We're constantly looking for new sources of supply or how we can make our water sources of supply most efficient. So we consider everything, and that is definitely something that we have in our evaluations.
Can I add in just a little bit to that? When I think about landscaping and everybody's a water manager, right? There is a approach to landscaping called the watershed-wise approach, right? And it is basically the concept of designing your landscape so that any beneficial water that occurs stays on your land, right? So it's creating it's a design that would help create the opportunity for your own little watershed, right? And if we all have our own little watershed, it goes back to that. I know it's smaller scale, and it may not be exactly what you're looking to get it as far as bigger picture, but it is an approach to landscaping that I'm certified in, so I'm plugging it. But it's an educational opportunity that I see in our future to help educate our customers as well. So
So I think the other questions I had were about recycling water. And I think the proportion of recycled water in our water use is very low. I think it's around 5% right now. So my other question was, is there any way we can increase the amount of recycled water that's being used by customers? And you know, that's to do with stormwater. Can we find ways of recuperating stormwater? Is there any sense in having gray water systems or purple water system in your houses, for example, in your constructions? Is that something that you think would be useful and would make a difference? And if yes, are you thinking about implementing some kind of program that would facilitate that, whether it's a rebate, whether it's an incentive, whatever it is?
I am not familiar with any plans for for rebating gray water systems. We have not done that in the past, but I think like what Don said, that we're looking at everything, but I don't have any definitive information for you on that one, sir. I could try to see. I'll check in I'll see if anything is like that, is planned like that, but I have not heard of anything. But
okay.
This is another one of those things where the city could potentially, you know, promote something like that. Some cities have ordinances and that complicate installation of these, but I personally think it's a good idea for gray water and recycled water. But it's an infrastructure thing, isn't it, Dawn? For recycled water.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned two very great examples of recycled water. It's not, as Susan mentioned, some cities and ordinances actually, you know, prevent it. Some embrace it. We'd be happy to work with those communities who wanted to embrace it. That, you know, we definitely would be happy to work with those communities. As far as, you know, recycled water, you know, we do serve recycled water to the Apple campus from the Sunnyvale Water Pollution Control Plant. That's a little bit where my heart is, just because I saw it from the last drought. You know, our customers are asking for that as a service. It is complicated to get that delivered to the right places, to the right people, you know, and the regulations and things like that go around it. But, you know, we keep having those conversations, and someday it's going to happen. I mean, it's the wave of the future, I truly believe. So, you know, we're definitely keeping our eyes open for opportunities to expand the recycled water. Now that's a bit more our wheelhouse, is, you know, the bigger infrastructure, pipes in the ground and stuff like that. That's something we can kind of play with a little bit more, you know, than, you know, helping people with their gray water systems. You know, we're happy to lend support for that, but I would love to have pipes in the ground with recycled water going to people who wanted it. That would be great. I'm kind of dreaming right now. It's not on the cusp, but it's coming someday.
How about other commissioners' questions for Cal Water? No other questions? Bruno, I guess you still got the floor if you want to ask another one. I have one.
You go first, and I'll go after you.
I was reviewing the water quality report that's online, and the question that I had, and it's a topic of a lot of concern recently, is regarding the PFAS chemicals. And I note in there that that Cal Water Service has been sampling for them, and they also in the information put in the resort that if certain levels are reached, they had to report them, or I guess the terminology was had to notify. And I imagine it's notifying. Is it notifying customers? In other words, I think the PFAS limits were parts per trillion of 5 or 6 in certain constituents. Is that the notifications would have to go out to the individuals? And the reason why I ask this is because when I looked through the constituents that were analyzed for in the basis of the report, there wasn't any PFAS numbers listed there.
So I would be happy to come back sometime with our water quality expert. I just know enough to be dangerous. You know, PFAS is something that, you know, we've been testing for. We started testing for it before we were even mandated to. We wanted to know what kind of animal we were dealing with.
And I congratulate you for that, because a lot of water services haven't been doing that. But and maybe you can't answer the question, but the question is it's great that you've been doing the testing in advance, but I don't see it in the water quality report.
You know, and I don't believe that it has been detected. My belief is that if it was detected, they would have let me know. The lab would have a straight line to me, because I need to answer questions like this. So, I have made a note of your question, and I'm going to reach out to our water quality expert and make sure that I get an answer for you, and I can get back to you.
Yeah, you have other questions, Tom?
Go ahead, Bruno.
No, I just had a question actually on water quality as well. And one of the things that's pretty clear in Los Altos, we have hard water, very hard water actually, with high pH and low alkalinity. And I was wondering why, because I believe if I remember well, it wasn't the case like 5 or 10 years ago. So I was wondering what changed that makes the quality of the water not as good as it used to be.
So that's probably just a result of the blending and the mixture of the water that, you know, you've been getting. You know, hard water, you know, while we're not happy when it shows up on our dishes, it is still considered an aesthetic water quality parameter, because it's not, you know, dangerous. You know, it's not bad for our health. It changes, you know, depending on how we blend the surface water with the groundwater, which wells are running, which ones aren't, without knowing exactly where you live and the history of that area. It's hard for me to answer, but, you know, the water quality can change over time. To answer the water quality questions, I was going to let everyone know that our water quality is actually very good. We meet or exceed, in most cases. I can't, just because I can't think of one right now, we greatly exceed the water quality parameters that the water quality needs to meet. But does that mean it all tastes the same? It varies. It changes, you know, from different times of the year, depending on how we blend. But I do know I have heard that hardness is an area in some of our neighborhoods, and so I've put it out there to our water quality department to see if there's any, you know, systematic things that we could explore to try and reduce that. But you know, that at this point we're still just looking into that as an option.
Thank you.
I'll ask one other question, and also in your report, and I guess it's in Appendix H in the Urban Water Master Plan, which lays out the drought additional actions that have to be taken for drought conditions. And maybe this is premature, but there were several for an 8% shortage gap and so on and so forth, 15% water, 14% gap, shortage gap, and so on. Is what we're going to be seeing from you, or I'm anticipating that those are the additional measures that we may be seeing here in the not too distant future from either notification from Cal Water to its customers?
Susan, do you have any answer for that one?
Well, I'm looking at it as well. I printed it out as well, Dawn. I think that we are looking at the same thing, and it is a little bit premature just because things are moving so rapidly for us, and our talks and discussions with the wholesalers, and we did just file today, though, right, Dawn, the urban water, was it the water shortage contingency plan with the PUC today. So we don't have the answers yet to that question, but as soon as we know.
But just to let you know, we are in stage 1 of our plan, but we have really been in stage 1 since our last drought. We haven't ever left that stage 1 because we know it's the right thing to do.
Can I ask a more general question then? Is a schedule for the implementation of this, are we looking at 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? You know, what can we tell our community as to when to potentially expect this?
I cannot quote that at this time, Don, because I don't know, and I don't think Don knows. The moment we do, we can reach directly back out to your commission and provide you with those details. So as soon as it's public.
And actually, I mean, just to let you know, when Valley Water announced a 15% reduction mandate, I reached out to actually Susan's boss to say, hey, people are curious, what's going to happen? How's it going to affect them? What's our plan? And they said, right now we're stage 1, it's voluntary. We don't have a timeline for that changing, but we will constantly keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on and what's going to be required, and we'll reach out to our customers and let them know when things need to change. But at this point right now, there isn't a timeline set or established.
I'll ask once more other commissioner questions, and perhaps and give also Valley Water any closing comments you want to make. But I think perhaps we should move on here shortly. And I don't have to cut it off right now, but we've got to sort of wrap it up. So commissioner questions?
I would just make a comment, which is that, I think we have a lot of very conscientious residents here, and a lot of them who are very aware and concerned have already implemented, a lot of the conservation measures that you talked about. So I would encourage to be thinking about, okay, if we're going to continue to reduce every time we have a drought, and it's always reduction from previous reduction, there's got to be ways to get to the next step. And so the gray water, use gray water system rebate or something like that, right? We already have a lot of residents who've done all the irrigation, so what is it the next step that they're going to be able to do to meet those reductions is something I think would serve our residents well.
I agree. We have people that are probably have already started conserving, and we have an aware and a proactive community, I'd like to think. And what you mentioned, Laura, is very appropriate. Also, there are some things that we can do within the city regarding new construction, and a couple of things that I can think of is like require that any new driveway in new construction be permeable. We can certainly expand rain garden installation in new landscaping. Another thing that the city can potentially do. But we should look for those types of things and ideas that I'd like to request the commission to pass on to Amico so can get it to staff and start thinking about those. For example, we have a shoulder pavement improvement policy where we don't have curbs and gutters that require when you put in a new home, you put in a rain garden associated with it. And my question is well, if why can't you put in a rain garden, have the new homeowner cut the curb and put in a rain garden when they're building a new home, or basically when they do demolish an existing house and rebuild. And I think those are a couple of ideas that I'll pass on to Amico. I don't know if commissioners have additional ideas.
Are you familiar with the water efficient landscape ordinance? That's usually for larger properties, but it has a lot of good components in it.
Oh, there's no shortage of information out there from on water conservation and other things. And, yes.
Okay, great.
I just want to, sorry. I just want to appreciate CalWater. I mean, so many efforts. I mean, I myself is trying to get some help from the irrigation, I guess, tune up, like the check, but I guess just appreciate the effort. And in terms of the, I guess, building regulation, some control, I guess I would agree with Don or Bruno about the gray water mandated requirement, perhaps for new house or new residential construction. That might be like a bigger impact or possible way that can help situation in long run. And so as far as the driveways, that's already required current ordinance for all the cities pretty much. The driveway has to be pervious materials. I guess I do have kind of question about like if the situation gets just continuously bad, like what could be the next major possible way to help the situation? But I think that's kind of abstract and a long list to answer. Like, I don't know, like what might be the next step, say the outdoor irrigation is reduced or like a monthly, I don't know. So that may be a little bit of a question, but I don't know. Answer.
Thank you, Lane. I have one other question for Amico. Is this something that we should take public comment on this, on the presentation and discussion here?
Yeah, we would take public comment.
Okay, then I had to beg CalWater to hang in here for a few minutes and then give you a chance to summarize, but I'll allow if there's members of the public that wish to speak on this or.
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, then I appreciate your time this evening, representatives of Cal, but give you an opportunity here to, if you have more that you wanted to address, here's an opportunity to summarize, and I thank you.
Susan, do you want to say closing remarks?
Oh, I didn't think of closing remarks, but I am appreciative of the invitation to come and speak with you. And I think that this is really, I know that representatives from CalWater have been to your meetings, presented before, but for maybe Don and Rob and I feel like this is a new opportunity to meet you all. And I look forward to working with you to help the city and the community get to some, water conservation goals. So that's my little.
And I would like to see if we could help advertise or work with the city to advertise our conservation program. We really do have so many great rebates, like Susan was mentioning, and programs. If you go to our website and just hover over conservation, it's on the top bar, CalWater Conservation. It's a whole world of opportunities for all of your residents and our customers to take advantage of, and we'd love nothing more than to be overwhelmed with requests. That would be great.
Well, thank you very much.
I wanted to see if Rob wanted to say if he had a little hello or.
Please do.
We didn't give him much of a chance.
No, it's all right. I think you guys did a great job answering tough questions. I really appreciate the commission inviting us here, giving us an opportunity to talk. I know that water conservation, water in general, is going to be on everybody's mind moving forward throughout the summer and into the fall, and as we hope for a wet winter. So as Don had mentioned earlier on, we are here. You have access to us. Please use it. If we can't answer a question immediately, we will certainly circle back around and try to get you the best answers we possibly can as we all move through this. And again, just wanted to encourage everybody to utilize us as a research and how much we appreciate you guys having us here tonight.
Thank you very much. Amiko, why don't we move on to the agenda, on the next item on the agenda. And I guess it may be premature, and maybe we can ask some assistance here of Sally that's on the line as well about should we be passing, what information should we be passing on to council at this point in time regarding the drought conditions that we're facing? Is there something that council would like, would be appropriate to hear at this point in time, given the fact that it appears as though some of these plans are just in their developmental stage? And what I mean by plans is the drought related restrictions and notices.
So Dawn, if you, sorry, if you want me to say a few words, I mean, right now with Cal Water's plan just going in today and it's still not public, we don't really have the information to communicate. I mean, once we have, if there's a mandate or a recommendation or something that we can roll out to the residents. I mean, I've actually heard this presentation or similar versions of it. This is my third time now. Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, and now Environmental Commission. Each time there's little different tweaks. So that's good. But I really think that until we, we need something specific to be able to tell the residents about what they're supposed to do and achieve. We've talked about the drought a couple of times, but just in passing, but until we have specifics, I think it's the droughts, it's not premature in terms of the drought, it's here, but we just have to have a real plan or targets to outline. So unless someone else has a different opinion, but that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I recognize that. I similar to your thoughts, Sally, I was just wondering if it would help, or if the commission feels that they want to make a statement regarding the drought commission, even though it would be something very general in nature at this point. In other words, supporting conservation actions in our community to reach the goals that are Valley Water's stated goals, or something like that. If that would be of assistance to the council and staff in moving forward with the next steps on this.
Well, I think it certainly wouldn't hurt if you wanted to make a comment, public comment items not on the agenda. That never hurts. But maybe there is some, I forget, there's, if there's some sort of, I mean, in the end, what will be most useful is if we can do like a mail campaign where a small to medium-sized postcard goes out. Maybe Cal Water, you're planning on doing this anyway. So certainly to make a statement, as you mentioned, Chair Whedon would be fine. But again, everyone knows there's a drought, and I think those who are on top of it are already taking measures, and it's those who are, want their grass to be green, if they still have grass and they want it green, it's harder to get through to them anyway. So I think that's a comment on, items not on the agenda is not going to get through to people who are still very set on having a green front lawn. But it certainly doesn't hurt. And the more we can talk about it, I've posted on my council Facebook page, which admittedly, I don't have a lot of people following me, but the more that we can get, I posted about your water conservation kit. So I know some people clicked through and ordered some of those after I heard about it. So I think if all of us can start doing more posts and sharing it and get some of the information out there, anytime you say the word free, that water conservation kit may get people interested. So that's why I had posted about that after I heard it at the Chamber of Commerce presentation. But
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. We really do.
I'll pose a question to my fellow commissioners. At this point, do any of them feel that they would like to bring out a general statement, for example, in support of the 15% reduction announced by Valley Water, you know, that we're in agreement with that, or is it just too premature and people don't want to go there?
Well, anyway, I just want to support. I think we could make a statement like that because it's very important. So,
Don, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Well, I think that's obviously, you know, appropriate and good. Perhaps we can agendize for next meeting a kind of follow-on discussion from this presentation about what it is we can recommend, either recommend to the city or do ourselves as a commission for our residents and our to highlight, you know, what residents can do. You know, I think last time we had those signs in the downtown entrance, and something like that could be very visible for a lot of people. Like we're not replanting, you know, there might be pushback on that, but we're not replanting this spot because we're conserving water. So perhaps we can just talk about some of those more ideas next time, unless you feel like it's urgent to get a statement out now.
Thank you, Laura. Any other comments?
I support just to make a general statement about, you know, 15% aggregate savings, because it is high time right now. You know, it's the beginning of the summer. I think we really need to raise that awareness to everyone. Even though we're in phase 1, we've heard Cal Water's representative, but I still think that we need to get that message out to people.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Well, I think we lack a lot of information to be able to make a statement, I think, with regards to reductions and conservation. I think what we could do is promote what Cal Water is doing in terms of rebate and some other offers that they have, because I don't think the people of Los Altos, the community as a whole, knows necessarily a lot about it. And the question becomes, how do we communicate about that? How do we make it widely available? I think Laura's suggesting some options. Maybe there are some other options we can discuss. And I think as part of that, we can reinforce the fact that we're in a drought, severe drought. We can reiterate some of the information we have, the snowpack in the Sierra and so on. But I'm not sure we can make a statement which is specific. It would have to be a general statement, and I'm not sure what we're going to achieve with a general statement. That's my only reservation.
Okay. Unless there's, you know, unless somebody brings a motion, then I sort of heard some comments on both sides, but Amico, maybe we could put something in the minutes about the presentation of Cal Water, about the drought condition, about the customer savings initiatives that are available, and perhaps maybe somebody else can throw in something else that came up tonight, but put that in the minutes and then get that through into our, if we can get a spot in the city manager update on it.
Yeah, the other thing we could do, I don't know if we have that, but we have, I believe, in the on the web page for the Environmental Commission, we have something about water, right? On the left, top left, do we have something there?
Not about water conservation. That's on a different page. That's, I believe, on the Public Works Engineering page.
All right. Okay. So because I think we could have some links there, we could have some information as well on the EC webpage.
Does that seem a reasonable course of action to the commission members?
I'm going to add one more thought, if I may, Don. So instead of making a statement and speaking, it could just be instead of the detail that you were talking about putting in the minutes, which you still can, you can actually take that and send that ahead of time as a written public comment. And our residents are very active at scanning all the public comments. And so that might actually get more traction. You'll have the links in the letter, and it would be included with the full packet for ahead of the council meeting. So whereas when people speak, it's much harder to catch what links and the references and everything else. So whatever, if you're intending to put sort of a beefy summary in the minutes, or you could create the beefy summary and just submit that as a public comment.
Okay, I was not thinking for public comments to council, but that's a good idea, Sally. Perhaps maybe we can have the shortened version for the city manager weekly update, Amico, and then we put in a little bit more information to it, and then just send that on to council as a public comment regarding something not on the agenda.
Yep, we could do that.
That seem reasonable, Sally?
Yeah, I think that's good. And I don't think they have to be that different, because the city manager newsletter, you click in and it goes to, you know, a more detailed thing usually. So that the more detailed thing could be what you submit as a written public comment on items not on the agenda. So you wouldn't have to create two things.
Okay. Maybe we should move on then and on to the next items of our agenda.
I just wanted to thank Susan and Dawn and Rob again. I really appreciate it. And I know that we'll be reaching out to you to, I'm sure, join more events and help our community a lot more. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is, and maybe I'm going to turn this over to Amico and to comment a little bit on the request and discussion that was held at City Council a week ago on the Lehigh Hansen and Stevens Creek Quarry situation, or the discussion that was held by City Council on that. And I'll also say, I don't know if Sally wants to say anything on that particular item after you sort of set the stage, Amico.
Sure. So at the June 8th City Council meeting, Council discussed opportunities for how the city can monitor or participate in activity efforts, either in conjunction with Cupertino or the county on the Lehigh Hansen and Stevens Creek quarry expansion and development. So just a quick little brief, they did apply for a permit in 2019 to expand. I would think that most of you are probably familiar with that, and it has not been approved. There's currently a lawsuit between Lehigh and the county, as the county is the one that would potentially approve a expansion permit for them. So, and I will allow Sally the opportunity to discuss what the council had, well, I wouldn't say really decided. I think there was a few things that they needed to determine at a later meeting. The way I understand it, I think they weren't able to, like, for example, create a subcommittee within the council on the item. But they did discuss various options and possibly how the Environmental Commission could partner or be involved in some parts of the monitoring or potential recommendation for possible involvement or letters in conjunction and partner with the county and Cupertino.
So I'm relieved, D'Amico, that we heard the same thing because I was like, well, I'm not sure that I can tell about so many decisions because there really is a TBD. It'll be covered again because yeah, the council did want to form a council subcommittee, and that wasn't agendized. I think actually there were 2 things at the last meeting that we wanted subcommittees on that hadn't been agendized, and one of them was this Lehigh. So the council's definitely going to take a more active and proactive role in, and probably in partnership with the county, with Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space, and with other local cities. And I'm not clear yet. I think it'll depend on, after the formation of the subcommittee, we'll probably get more definition about what role the commissions should play, or if council might actually even take the lead on this. I think there's a coalescence of partners that are going to come together, and I expect, it sounds to me from what I heard, that this will actually be quite an effort going forward. And so there might be a supportive role for the commission, but it sounded like definitely it would be driven out of council, or at least the subcommittee. D'Amico, anything else you wanted to add or correct that I said?
No, I think that was my interpretation. I think me and Dawn probably agree that sounds about right in terms of what we heard the council say that night. Yeah.
So there's not a lot of definition for the commission that we can offer tonight. I wouldn't be too surprised if perhaps the council subcommittee looked for a volunteer from the commission maybe to get involved. But I think that'll have to wait until the subcommittee gets together and decides what sort of the charter or the remit looks like for that subcommittee.
I think
I did mention this issue, I think in April meeting, Don. I think it's probably in the minutes. I cannot remember, but I did bring this up. And I think at the time, you were deferring to, how the city council is going to view this. But anyway, I think personally, I have been paying attention to that. So I would be interested in supporting the subcommittee of the council, and I would be happy to volunteer when it comes to that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. I guess there's opportunity for any other committee members to comment on this particular item at this point. I think that it appears as though there will be some role here at some point, but it's a little premature to say what that role may be. And so we'll stand ready to support when when the skeleton has a little more flesh on it, I guess is a way to put it. Okay. Any other comments before we move on to, I guess, Amico, I'll ask you again that maybe this is something that perhaps, should we see if there's any member of the public that wishes to talk on this item? I think we typically afford opportunities, and so let's afford the opportunity if there's any comments.
So I'm not seeing any hands raised. If there's anyone in the members of the public that would like to speak, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the climate action and adaptation plan, and I'll give you a chance, Amico, to give us an update.
Sure. I am going to share my screen, and Bruno or Dawn, feel free to correct me if any of this goes astray. Let's see here. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Let me just minimize my screen here real quick so I can see. Okay. So for an update, I thought I would do it a little bit easier. Rashina had the suggestion to put some of the information this way. And so we did have our focus group number 2. That was on May 21st, and that was on the gap analysis. So the second focus group of the gap analysis reviewed the delta between the current status of initiatives and emissions, and then what might be needed to reach some of the goals of the targets that are being discussed for this update. Just so you know, we did have invited stakeholders from the Complete Streets Commission, the Youth Commission, the Park and Rec Commission, LACAT, which is Los Altos Youth Climate Action Team, Los Altos High School Green Team, Greentown, Los Altos Property Owners Downtown, Chamber of Commerce, and LAVA. And so for this focus group, as you see here, these were the criteria in which we, or I should say the consultant was framing to look at the potential strategies. So when looking at potential strategies going forward, considering these different criteria, which is, greenhouse gas reduction potential, cost effectiveness, community benefit, effects on the economy, alignment with state and local policies, and then equity and climate justice. So, and what I mean by that is that the approach was to look at the strategies, but then consider which of these particular criteria might be more prioritized within those. So there were 5 sectors that were covered: transportation, energy, green community, municipal operations, and then resource conservation. We know that transportation is the largest producer of greenhouse gas emissions. And so going into that one first, and of course, these are nothing here is set in stone. These were just strategies that were being considered, and then wanting to get the feedback on those particular stakeholders to get their feedback on how these would be received, or how possible some of these can be. So a few things that were explored were increasing car-free day programs, scooter sharing programs, or bike sharing programs, traffic reduction measures for heat alert days, EV only parking spaces downtown, potentially setting goals to have all new vehicles be purchased, to be EV purchased by a certain date, so either 2025 or another specified year. Moratorium on gas stations, and then designate downtown car-free zones. And these are just a few of some of the things that were discussed. For energy, we considered like an end of flow date for gas. Infrastructure, considering renewable gas programs, exploring battery storage for city facilities, passive house, potentially incentives for development of passive houses, carbon fee goals for new construction, and then more outreach and education on energy efficiency rebates and programs through PG&E and SVCE. And then for green community, establishing some cooling centers and walkable downtown, increasing urban tree canopy, exploring options to change the setbacks or move setbacks, creek setbacks, to, promote better habitat, bike and pedestrian thoroughfare across town, and some of that obviously would be done through what's currently being done through the Complete Streets master plan. And then land use to include high density in downtown areas, and then less exclusive office development, specifically exclusively office development, and community gardens. And then for the municipal operations would be convert 100% of the city's light duty fleet to electric vehicles. Of course, more EV charging stations at city facilities and throughout the town, replacing municipal appliances with the electric alternatives, increasing the required diversion rates for the C&D. I believe it's at 70, so looking at a higher diversion rate of 80 potentially, facilitate new development of new affordable housing units. Increased opportunity for housing for the senior population, and increased accessibility to city facilities and services. And then the last one was resource conservation. So require water saving landscaping, integrating climate change adaptation across all city plans. The general plan will be coming up for an update, the housing element. And so, being that this update on the climate plan will be first, really trying to get that across the board. And some of the other things were, to promote use of native landscaping, promoting the reuse, repair, recovery, and refurbishment economy, which can include repair resources, and of course supporting reusable foodware programs. And an option there would be, to pass an ordinance for banning single-use plastics and promoting reusable foodware throughout the city. And so those were some of the things. And in the packet, I did have the update, the summary, I should say, included some of the feedback on those from the discussion. Also, that particular focus group, I can send the link, and the commission can listen to the conversation that was had as well. I wanted to also show you, this was from the consultant. And so what this does here is this will show you the different requirements or targets, I should say, international, national, state, and then local targets. So at the top portion here, you're going to see the international, national, and state. And then in the pink, you're going to see some surrounding cities and what their targets are. And those are some local targets there. And some of the ones that we've been looking at, parts of the different plans. These are some of the ones that we've looked at and considered a few of their targets, but also some of their potential strategies, or I should say measures as well. We also discussed what it would take to get us to, I think originally the way it was presented was medium and high targets. We actually changed that to low and medium targets just based on when you take a look at the numbers. If we were to look at a low target, it would be a 50% reduction from 2005 levels. And so it shows you here what we would need to reach those targets. At the very end of the chart, you can see that to meet that one, we would need an 11% reduction from the 2018 levels. And then if we look at more of a medium/higher target, that would be a 70% reduction from the 2005 levels. So we would need a 47% reduction. I think the next slide here talks about potential ways that that could be achieved, and some of the strategies that would need to be considered. One being that with the REACH codes, the cycle will need to be reapproved again. So come 2023, could afford us the opportunity to include the remodels, additions, in addition to the new construction that was currently passed. And then, for the transportation portion, it would definitely be having to reduce the transportation emissions. And so that's the part that, would take a lot of different strategies to achieve. That couldn't be done just by a few, but this here shows you potential reductions. Okay, and that was the last slide. And so that's where we are in terms of looking at potential targets. How do we get there? We did meet with Menlo Park to get a little bit more information on their, I'll go back here, their zero carbon by 2030, being that is one of the most aggressive targets that we've seen. That's coming very quickly. We're in 2021. So, we wanted to know what their strategy would be to try to get there. And I think what we learned is that they're still working on that. There's still a lot of work that they're trying to do. And obviously COVID didn't help the situation. And so, they may have to re-strategize, but at least it gives us a sort of point in terms of, what is achievable, how could it be achievable, how realistic is it to be achievable? And so I think this starts the conversation with the commission. And before I do go into that part where I think, we'll open it up to questions and conversation around some of the things shared here, I just want to quickly mention that the first survey did close. The results were in your packet. We did have about 113 participants on that one. The second survey we are currently working on, and that is targeted to go out the 29th of June, and we want to make sure that goes out after the workshop. And so the public community workshop is going to be on June 28th. It's from 3 to 5. The first hour, which we're calling part A, is from 3 to 4, and that will be dedicated to the business community and receiving feedback from them. And then the second part B, will be from 4 to 5. And then that's opened up to the rest of the community. Of course, both can attend both. We're not excluding the business community from the second part or the general community from the first part. We just wanted to have it in an organized way. So if one particular group wanted to get that information and provide feedback for that, they could just know which session that was going to be, but it will be a continuous workshop. And so the consultant is working on, some of these targets and strategies to present, and hopefully that will really get us to define and develop this a little bit more in a final matter. And so I will leave this up for just a minute in case anybody wanted me to go to a specific slide.
Thank you, Emiko. Maybe we'll open it up to questions from the commissioners, and then we'll go to comments from the public, and then a wrap up with the commissioners. And
I'm sorry, I should have let Bruno chime in if he had something that he wanted to add as well.
No, not really. I think it was a very good summary, Emiko, of the discussion we've had so far. I think I just would like to say that when you look at the targets from some of the local surrounding cities, some of these are older targets, and actually those cities are currently doing like us. They're re-looking at their targets. So, you know, when you look at Palo Alto, Mountain View, for example, is likely to change because this is, you know, obviously an old climate action plan already. And then, you know, with regards to the measures that were listed, I think we're looking at all sorts of measures to address climate change and greenhouse gas emissions and lower our GHG as fast and as best as we can by 2030. But I think it's just some ideas, and there are some other ones that have been discussed, and obviously that will be, I hope, will be done and evaluated in a systematic way with regards to not only the impact it can have, but also the cost and so on. And then lastly, I think, you know, she mentioned, if you go to the next slide, Emiko, some targets we started to look at, and these are exploratory targets. They're not set in stone. Obviously, they're not necessarily what will end up in the proposed climate action plan. But just to give you an idea that, you know, what they could look like, the low target is obviously something that is very low because we're almost there. So we don't have much to do to get there. So, and then the medium target, because we've been doing very well in Los Altos, and I think we can be somewhat aggressive in our medium target. We believe that's fairly easily achievable. But these are still discussions that are underway, and we still don't have an aggressive target either. That's, you know, some things we're exploring. So it's just very much a very good summary of where we are today, but it's still much work to be done to get us to the point where we have something that's workable.
I just have a question. Do we know what has been the reduction? I'm just asking, say, in the last 5 years. You know, I think at least give us some idea about, you know, the probability of achieving what we wanted to achieve. Do we have any?
Yeah, we have a comparison of 2018 versus 2005.
Okay.
And we've achieved a 36% reduction between 2005 and 2018 in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. So way above, the original target of the first climate action plan.
Okay.
So we've been doing very well as a city. I think we need to also understand and realize that most of that reduction is because of us switching to Silicon Valley clean energy, and having pretty much 100% green electricity was a big chunk of that reduction. So, so I think we need to understand that too when we look at the number, the 36% reduction. A lot of it has to do with switching to a clean electricity.
So Bruno, how will the target eventually get selected, get chosen, or solidified? Who makes that call? I mean, because part of it, you know, is a policy call too, yeah. Right?
Well, I think the idea, and I think Don can chime in, but the idea is to have 3 sets of targets. As I said, a low, a medium, and an aggressive target. each target would have specific measures that would have to take place between now and 2030 to get us there. Obviously, some of these measures may be acceptable or easy to achieve. Some of these measures may not be so easily put in place. So I think that's, I think that's, as you said, it's a policy decision. I think what we want to do as a group is give some options for people making those policy decisions and showing them the alternatives and the options and what it takes for each option to get us there. So I think, as you can imagine, the Menlo Park has set the high target already. So, by saying they want to be carbon neutral by 2030, the question is whether it's realistically achievable and whether we can do something similar, or whether our aggressive target may be slightly lower than that. Is the medium target too high? Do we need to revise our medium target? These are things we're still looking into and considering, obviously.
I don't see any more hands right now from the commissioners. So why don't we see if there's any public comment on this, and then we'll come back with any commissioner follow-on questions.
I have a public comment, Gary Hedden.
Sure, Gary, go ahead.
So I see a large reduction is associated with transit-oriented development. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit, because that means as we build new buildings, housing, I think this is housing, and you'll tell me, I guess, but the population is going to grow, and so our greenhouse gas emissions will obviously be growing with the growing population. So it's kind of a balancing act between that and trying to reduce it, and yet you have a pretty big reduction associated with transit-oriented development. So I don't think that's realistic. Your comment.
Thank you, Gary. Amico or Bruno, you want to fill in a little bit about around the edges?
No, I mean, I think the only thing you need to keep in mind, Gary, and everybody here, is that these are just really, really early draft proposals, and they haven't been fully vetted, fully evaluated. And I don't think you should focus on any particular measure that was listed on Emiko's presentation, because at this stage, as I said, it's very exploratory. We haven't done the homework to really figure out exactly what it means. Each of them means in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. We may end up going for something very different. I think it's just to give you a flavor where we are and what the thinking is, rather than giving you an idea of where we are and of where we're going. It's where we are today, but not where we're going necessarily.
Yeah, your question is valid, Gary, because I think this particular focus group, really opened the conversation up to whether or not these things are possible, and us exploring ways to possibly make them possible, or if they aren't, then what are some other options that we need to look at that will get us maybe a similar reduction amount?
Well, I get that these are options and that it's preliminary, but there was a number associated with this, 14,000. That's a big number, so somebody must have given us some thought and thought it was realistic.
Right, that came from the consultant.
I'll have to reach out to Amico and Bruno that maybe understand a little bit more of the detail, but my understanding is this is through the LECI. What's the
ECLI done.
And they have a way that they model some of this so that you put in data and your assumptions on it, and then ECLI comes out with what you may expect from those types of scenarios. Am I correct, Bruno?
Yeah, no, that's correct. I think it's working through the ICLI model, which is actually a very flexible model, which allows you to. But I think, again, you know, I know, Gary, what you were looking at, that transportation, and I think you, again, as I said, these numbers are very preliminary numbers. They're not necessarily measures that will be, that we will keep down the road. They're not very specific also, they're very general right now. So I think we get it, I think, and we understand your reservations, but I think at this stage, again, it's very early.
Thank you.
I agree with all that, but I think we can't answer Gary's question right now, but I think the one thing that we can point to is that the numbers that were in this preliminary chart were developed based on the ICLI model, and I apologize right now, I can't remember what it stands for, but it's a widely used climate modeling system that's used for developing climate action plans by local governments. And so they have a whole series of assumptions and projections that go into the modeling. And pardon me if I didn't explain it too well. Okay, let's, if there's no other comments from the community or public on it, we'll bring it back and see if there's any follow-on questions or comments from commissioners.
I think I just like to understand a little bit more about the assumption. Model is a model. We need to understand what are the assumptions they put in there. I'm sure they're probably figuring, you know, the increases share of the EV, and you know, people may change the way how they commute to work and all that stuff. So it would be helpful that if some of the assumption can be shared with us, so that we know if they are, you know, approximate what would expect to happen over time, and so that we can understand if you know, those things are projecting within, you know, within the range that we'd expect.
I agree. And I think that's the detail that'll be developed as we go along. Any other comments from commissioners?
Are we putting, how to say, like, can we input a few more items, or I don't recall in the list of possible ideas to achieve our goal, like the gray water requirement possibly from our building code, you know, certain things like that can, I guess, just, you know, continuously putting into the list, or contributing to part of the, I guess, the whole list of possibilities to achieve our goals. I'm just kind of really asking.
I'll make a stab at this, and maybe Amiko or Bruno can fill in on the edges. But as Amiko in their presentation stated, that these were, what she presented was just a few of the items that were being considered. And so it isn't a complete list. And we anticipate that even those listed items will be more fully developed in time for the public workshop. And then we may even come out of the public workshop with additional ideas and comments that would be folded into the plan.
And I think if you have ideas about measures and what you would like to see and what you think would have an impact, I think you should obviously speak out or send it to Amiko I think, we're obviously trying to consider as much as possible, taking into consideration what has been done in other cities, not just around us, but in the US and even outside the United States, and see what has worked and hasn't worked very well. And but I think any ideas you may have that we should consider and look at, I think would be very useful to have.
Yeah, so a couple ways. Obviously, the workshop is open to the public, and that is one way to do it. Also, we do have environment at losaltosca.gov, and any feedback or suggestions can be sent there or to me as well. So yes.
And I think you have received quite a few comments from the public at large in different groups through the email that's on our webpage.
Okay, yeah, nice.
And we can only encourage the public to actually email us with ideas, with reservations, with whatever they want, or I think is important to consider in the climate action plan, climate action and adaptation plan, I should say.
Okay, if that's okay, why don't we move on to the next item on the agenda, and this is really sort of an open item. If there's comments from any commissioners on our work plan that was posted with the agenda. Okay, we'll call that good, and we'll move on to Miko city staff updates, and then our final item of the chair.
Okay. So the last Environmental Commission meeting, there was the endorsement for AB 1346. And that will be on the June 22nd council agenda. So I know that we are going to be filling spots for commissioners to attend. So we will need one for obviously the 22nd, but also to answer questions if they come up from the council.
Are you asking for volunteers? I'm going to be out of town that day. So I know it would make sense since I drafted the letter, but I'm not going to be in town. This is next Tuesday you're talking about, right?
This is, yes, it is.
I listened in on the meeting of the 8th. I can do it again on the 22nd, since I'm probably the second most knowledgeable about the assembly bill.
Okay, and then we will need someone for July 13th.
I can do this one, Emiko.
July 13th? Okay, thank you. I think we should be okay unless we want to go ahead and choose August 24th. There's only one meeting in July and August, so the next one would be August 24th. If anybody even knows the future that far out. If not, we can get it on the next one. Yeah, far out. I think it's just
I can do that.
We can. What's that? Oh, you can do it, Xiaoping?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
And if we're doing updates on meetings we've listened to, I don't remember the date, but whatever date I've listened to, there was a discussion mainly about anything relevant to our commission would be the council approved a budget for, I think it was 3 different consultants to evaluate the Halsey House and what the proposal would be. And I think they have 3 different options of, basically tear down or
use the existing, reuse the existing structure. Anyway, they are going forward with consultants to write reports and then come back to make a decision on that. I don't know if there's a timeline, but and then I'll yeah, that was the only discussion item that has any relevance to us, really.
And I think that was the 25th of May, Laura. And we also had Commissioner Wan at the May 11th meeting. I don't know if we covered that.
Right. Yeah. Try to remember. I think there's a couple items on the council meeting. One is to accept the proposal for solid waste collection increase by 8.48%. Due date July 1st, 2021. Actually, I don't know the implication on that solid waste collection increase, but that was, I guess, accepted by City Council, I believe. Then second thing is also the discussion about the Lehigh issues, that whether the City Council or our Commission will need to take a further look into that situation. I think that was a deferred or future discussion item that they discussed. And then I guess also a suggestion or possible item for CalWater to have an agenda be presented at City Council meetings, future City Council meetings, and it was discussed during that council meeting. These are my recollections.
Okay, I was on the Tuesday 8th of June meeting, and we talked about the main item that came up regarding Lehigh. That was on our agenda here. There was a presentation by Mid-Peninsula Open Space District, and the one takeaway from that was environmental related is they did bring up some of their concerns regarding the Lehigh Quarry and the visibility, the sight line, where there's a limitation on the permit, and they brought up that and talked a little bit about their concern about some of those issues. Not in detail, because most of the presentation was regarding other things that Mid-Penn has done for us and the community at large. But that was mentioned as part of the Mid-Penn discussion. That's about all I have to report from the June 8th meeting. Okay, any other things for commissioners want to report on? Okay, Amico, I'll turn the floor over to you.
That was it for me. I think we're on to election.
Yeah, the last agenda item for the election of chair and vice chair.
So the way this works is we need a motion for nominating the chair. And then we'll take
the process is described in the attachment in the meeting agenda, that basically there's a motion. There does not need to be a second, but then there's an action on it, that motion, and if the motion doesn't pass, then move on to another motion. Hopefully everybody's looked at that short direction that Amico gave, or that's in the packet.
I'm kind of new, so may I know how long the chairperson's chair the commission? How long is it? Like 2 years, or how often does this election?
It's annual, so we do the elections every year.
Okay.
I have a motion for our new chair to be Commissioner Texler.
Laura, you either
Do I have to? Do I have to?
you either have to say you want to serve or
yeah, I would be willing to serve as chair.
okay, so with that and following the rules, basically, Miko, you want to do a roll call.
Commissioner Delagnu,
Yes.
Commissioner Liu,
Yes.
Commissioner Texler,
Abstain. No. Yes.
Commissioner Whedon,
Yes.
Commissioner Wan.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Now we're on to vice chair. Do we have a motion for vice chair position?
I've served for chair for several years. I'll make a motion, and I'm pleased to see Laura, new chair, and I'll make a motion because I think we need to develop some skills here. So I'd make a motion for Bruno if he's willing to accept.
Well, that wasn't expected, but thank you, Don. Yeah, sure, I will accept, obviously. I'm happy to serve.
Okay, so I will do the roll call again. Commissioner Delagnu. I think that's a yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Liu.
Yes.
Commissioner Texler.
Yes.
Commissioner Whedon.
Yes.
Commissioner Wan.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you. So should we take it that our two commissioners that are missing are strategically not here because they wouldn't be nominated?
Well, I don't know.
Well, thank you for trusting me to lead us again. So hopefully we've got a lot on our plate. So I think we got our work cut out for us, Bruno.
Yeah, and I think I wanted to thank Don because I think he's done an outstanding job as a chair. So I wanted to thank him for helping me when I started also and getting my bearing and understanding what I could and could not do or say or what not say. So yeah, so certainly, you'll be missed as a chair. I will miss you as a chair, but with Laura, I think it's in very good hands. So I'm very happy to see that Laura is the next chair.
Well, I'm certainly going to support both of you in any way that I can. So lean on me as well.
Thank you. We appreciate
Congratulations. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any final anything that before we close, future agenda items, or we'll move to adjournment.
Well, sorry to delay it, but I think we mentioned last time that for perhaps a subcommission for the solid waste reduction that we would like to discuss or discuss ways that we maybe subcommittee may help to help in that concerns issues. And I have sent an email, and I have also a response from Mission Trail person. And so I don't know where that's gonna fall in our agenda.
So yeah, I think we got your email, thank you. And so I think the subcommittee can get together. I'm going to be traveling a little bit, but I guess early next month, mid next month, and we can start that ball rolling. So I haven't forgotten about it.
Okay, yeah, just want to mention that.
I think it's obvious that we're probably going to have the climate action plan on at the next meeting, also as an action item or on in the meeting agenda, and then I guess also talking about the draft and deciding what we want to do next, statement, what kind of statement, if we want to make a statement, and so on.
Okay, great. And we normally meet in August too. Yeah.
We can barely hear you, Laura.
Oh, I was just confirming that we also meet in August. So, sorry, can you hear me okay?
I have well, I guess it's not really a question. Like I have a travel plan July, and possibly I'll miss the meeting, but since it's Zoom meeting, I guess I can, I mean, or anyone can, if they can be available, can participate.
Sorry, I didn't follow that.
Okay, I guess I'm just kind of it's a comment for our current situation that Zoom for this central what's called, like we are meeting online. It's actually beneficial because you can meet it even you are out of town. Something like that.
Yeah, I am out of town right now. I'm dialing in, so that can work.
Yeah.
So Don, if you guys can't hear me, I may need you to, I guess we can adjourn the meeting unless there was any more discussion. And I don't know if you guys can hear me okay.
Can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I'm supposed to take over and adjourn the meeting, right? Okay. All right. Well, good. Thank you, everybody. Very productive meeting, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.